Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 2K Sports Season Preview Show. I'm Greg Gumbel, along with my partner Clark Kellogg, and we're ready to give you your first taste of all the big names and top teams that will define this season. We're looking ahead to what should be an amazing year in college basketball, so let's take a look at the preseason top 25 poll and see who starts the season at the top of the heap. Here are the big five, the top teams in the country as we begin the season. The Oregon Ducks come in as the number one ranked team, followed by Connecticut, Wisconsin, Florida State, and Michigan State. What do you think of the top five teams going into the year, Clark?
Sometimes the top players in the nation and the best teams in the nation aren't necessarily together at the top of the poll. But going into this season, we have some of the absolute.
Oregon is in the catbird seat to start the season, sitting pretty in the number one spot. They've got a whole crew of high school Mr. Basketballs on this team.
A team is usually happy to land one Mr. Basketball, but with the number they have, this could be a golden era of basketball success at this university. There's nothing but good times ahead.
Connecticut is in the number two spot. They had a pretty solid record last year, finishing with 20 wins.
That 20-win plateau is one of those benchmarks in college hoops that immediately classifies you as an elite team. So they're going to have a tough act to follow. But if they simply play to their potential, they can reach that mark again.
Wisconsin comes in as number three. Certainly, they'll get a big boost from the return of their leading scorer from a year ago.
That's a big advantage for them. They don't have to spend the first few weeks of the season searching for that go-to guy. They know who he is, and they'll use him.
Florida State starts the year as the fourth-ranked team. They're going to have to find someone to fill the void left by their departed leading scorer, Clark.
The important thing for them is not to thrust someone into that role just for the sake of it. It will be a much smoother transition if the players are allowed to ease into their new spots.
Michigan State is the number five team. From a sheer talent standpoint, this team is right at the top of the charts.
Their roster is jam-packed with former high school All-Americans. They're like a traveling all-star team. It tells you a lot about the appeal of this university to the top high schoolers in the nation.
Here's the next group of teams in our preseason top 25. What's your impression of that set of teams?
The upside of these teams far outweighs the downside. Expect at least half of these teams to finish the season in the top 10, and one or two of them have a chance to be right at the top.
The Horned Frogs of TCU, the number 12 team, have been talked about quite a bit as we head into the season. They bring back four starters, and that should pay huge dividends for them this year.
I can't tell you what an advantage that is for them. There's so much turnover in the college game these days that having four starters coming back is almost unfair, Greg.
The UNLV Running Rebels, the number 6 team. What do you think of this collection?
I think there were a few teams that were slighted and should probably be in the top 25 ahead of some of these teams. But I'll hold my tongue and talk about the teams that do deserve to be here.
The Wake Forest Demon Deacons, the number 16 team, probably deserve a closer look. One bit of good news for them, they have last season's leading rebounder coming back for another year. The Florida Gators, as usual, we have a lot of new coaching hires. Coach Thompson is one of the hires that drew a lot of media attention. The Oklahoma. We've come to the part of the show when we look at the top players in the nation and the Providence. As for our next first teamer, Mississippi next up is a player that's. Let's move on to a play. And finally, let's move on to the second team all. Welcome to the 2K Sports Studios. I'm Greg Gumbel, along with my partner Clark Kellogg. Coming up on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll preview some of the biggest games coming up this week in the NCAA, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But we begin with a special player who was an easy choice as our Player of the Week in college basketball.
Yang is our choice this week, and he might be winning an even bigger award at the end of the year. There's a lot of talk about him as a Player of the Year candidate.
He gave an absolutely superb performance, Clark. He just got hotter and hotter as the week went on. His opponents threw a number of different looks at him, but he handled it all. I'm not sure there's a legitimate way to stop him right now, and we haven't even begun to talk about his work at the defensive end either. Now let's take a look ahead to the games that get top billing on the schedule in the days to come. This will be a fantastic battle. This is shaping up to be a prototypical style versus style matchup. Great scorers on one side of the court, great defenders on the other. This is going to be a real showdown.
Virginia would be my pick here. They're so strong on the inside that I believe they'll be just too tough to match up with. It really surprised me if that talent discrepancy on the inside doesn't tell the tale of this game.
But that's not the only item on the schedule that has NCAA fans buzzing. I'm looking forward to this game just like everybody else. This matchup has the possibility of becoming quite a little rivalry because these teams match up so well against each other, and it's always a heated atmosphere when they're on the court together.
Florida plays a brand of defense that should make the difference in this game. They are a tough team to score against. And if you don't squeeze the orange, they'll take it. I think they'll be in top form for this contest.
Now, let's turn our attention to some of the action of the past week in the NCAA with our games of the week. We had the kind of upset this week that makes college hoops so unpredictable and so exciting. Rhode Island outdid Georgia Tech.
This came right out of the blue, Greg. What a wild and crazy game. Georgia Tech was sitting pretty as a top 5 team, but you've got to have some doubts about them after a loss like this. Rhode Island played some absolutely stifling defense. They made the guys on the other side work for every basket, and you can see that reflected in the shooting percentage. They never let up on the defensive end. They really took the pressure off the offense and allowed them to dictate the tempo of the game. To me, that was the biggest factor.
And 2 teams, each enjoying a spot in the top 25, got together. West Virginia dismantled Providence.
The posters love games like this. It makes their job easy. When you've got 2 ranked teams like this going up against each other, you can just sit back and see who should go up and who should move down. Mulich took care of business in this one. His 16 points led all scorers. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous.
That'll do it for us here in the studio. For my part. It is an annual rite of spring, bringing with it excitement and emotion that can be found in no other sporting event. The NCAA tournament. Your wait is finally over, the brackets are ready, and the drama of March Madness is about to begin. Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, and this is the NCAA Championship Basketball Selection Show, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Joining me at the anchor desk, as always, my partner, Clark Kellogg. We're all set to show you the seedings and pairings, so get out your bracket sheet, get those pencils ready. Here are the basics. Of the 65 available tournament bids, 31 are automatically given to conference champions. The tournament committee hands out the remaining. But before we unveil the brackets for this season, here's a look at the final top 25 media poll of the season. The rank. It's time to talk about the topic that has a lot of players and coaches holding their breath right now. The Rutgers on the. And finally, now here's first up. The Rutgers. Next, our number. Our number 2. Next up. And now the number 6 seed, the Horned Frogs of TCU, come into the tournament on the strength of a third-place finish in their conference regular season and were losers in their first game at their conference tournament. Welcome to the 2K Sports Studios. I'm Greg Gumbel, along with my partner, Clark Kellogg. Coming up on the NCAA Tournament Edition of College Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll preview the marquee matchups of the Sweet 16, as well as show you some of the great action from the first two rounds. But we begin with the player who dominated the first week of the tournament.
Mackle had one of the best weeks we've seen out of a big man in quite some time. He was sensational this week, not just compared to other centers, but to any other player in the country.
Absolutely, Clark. He didn't waste any time getting hot. A lot of players want to save their best for the end of the tournament. Well, he was on fire right from the opening tip, and it carried over into the second round. One look at these highlights, you'll see why he's our player of the week and why his team is on the way to the Sweet 16. Now, let's turn our attention to a few of the huge battles upcoming this week in the Sweet 16. We're really getting into the meat of March Madness now. This will be a fantastic battle. This is shaping up to be a prototypical style versus style matchup. Great score on one side of the court, great defenders on the other. This is going to be a real showdown.
Dayton is a very good basketball team with an experienced lineup of juniors and seniors who should keep their composure under the I believe they'll go out and attack right away and not worry about the pressure at all.
And how about another huge matchup from the third round? This should be a terrific matchup. Both these teams are fighting to improve their position among the nation's elite teams, and they're going to have to go through each other to do it.
Georgetown should come out on top if I had to make a prediction. Their backcourt is so solid this year, and their guards love to get out and run. That gives them a huge advantage in a game that should be as fast-paced as this one will be.
As usual, the first weekend of March Madness had what are sure to be some of the most dramatic contests of the entire tournament. Our first game was an outstanding matchup from the first round. Kansas State overpowered UC Irvine.
A lot of times, the first round of March Madness gives us the best game of the entire tournament. And this was one of those games. Just a classic tournament battle from start to finish. Parkinson was the hero of this one with a terrific performance. His 20 points led all scorers. And in addition to his scoring, he is a tenacious defender. He makes everyone around him a better defender. With this combination of offense and defense, it's easy to see why they won this game. And for him to have a game like that on college basketball's grandest stage, the NCAA tournament, is simply phenomenal, Greg. What a performance.
This next game was another superb March Madness battle. Syracuse was victorious over IUPUI.
This game wasn't decided until that final buzzer sounded. A couple of different bounces one way or the other, and this could have been a totally different outcome. Syracuse played some absolutely stifling defense. They made for every basket, and you can see that reflected in the shooting percentage. They never let up on the defensive end. That really took the pressure off the offense and allowed them to dictate the tempo of the game. To me, that was the biggest factor.
Our show, everyone. For all of us here at the 2K Sports Studios, thanks for watching. Enjoy the tournament. We'll see you next week on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Welcome, College Hoops fans, to the 2K Sports Season Preview Show. We're glad to have you along for what's sure to be another outstanding season of college hoops action. I'm Greg Gumbel, and with me at the anchor desk, my partner, Clark Kellogg. We're ready to give you a look ahead to all the ups and downs of the upcoming season, so let's get the ball rolling with the best teams in the nation in the very first Top 25 poll of the season. These are the top 5 teams in college hoops as we begin the new season. The Texas Tech Red Raiders come in as the #1 ranked team, followed by Kansas State, Michigan, Rutgers, and Florida. So, Clark, what's your initial impression of our top 5 teams?
Sometimes the top players in the nation and the best teams in the nation aren't necessarily together at the top of the poll. But going into this season, we have some of the absolute best players playing on the marquee teams. That's really exciting to me, Greg.
Texas Tech is in the catbird seat to start the season, sitting pretty in the #1 spot. Certainly, they'll get a big boost from the return of their leading scorer from a year ago.
That's a big advantage for them. They don't have to spend the first few weeks of the season searching for that go-to guy. They know who he is, and they'll use him.
Kansas State is in the #2 spot. They've got a whole crew of high school Mr. Basketballs on this team.
A team is usually happy to land one Mr. Basketball. But with the number they have, this could be a golden era of basketball success at this university. There's nothing but good times ahead.
Michigan comes in as #3. They had a tremendous year last season, finishing with 25 wins.
That total identified them as a team to be reckoned with in college basketball. I won't be surprised to see them reach or surpass that total again this season.
Rutgers starts the year as the 4th-ranked team. This university has been a regular destination for many of the most talented players in the country.
They don't have 3 or 4 All-Americans from high school. They've got 5. When you can put that level of talent on the floor at the same time, it's almost unfair.
Florida is the #5 team. They lost a big piece of their team with the departure of last season's leading rebounder.
It's going to have to be a group effort on the boards for a little while until some of the younger big men get the confidence to hold their own game in and game out.
Here's the next group of teams in our preseason top 25. What do you think of this group, Clark?
We've seen plenty of future national champions come out of this group from the middle of the top 25. I'm not willing to say just yet whether that is going to happen again this year, but a few teams certainly have the potential.
The Horned Frogs of TCU, the #6 team, have stirred up a lot of talk in the offseason. They had a nice finish to the year, but it ended with a disappointing loss in the regional final.
They were so close to the Final Four they could taste it. And the memory of that Elite 8 loss should be all the motivation they need this year to work just that little bit harder. We'll see if they can get over the hump this time.
The Wisconsin Badgers, the #13 team. How about this list?
This is a year, Greg, where a few of the teams on this end of the poll really stand out above the others. There are
The West Virginia, the Georgetown, as usual, we have a lot of the Ohio State coach, also moved to a new school, and that's generated some excitement on that campus. The Ohio State Buckeyes are a team looking to rebuild under their new leader.
He's never been to the Final Four, but he's hoping that this will be the coaching staff that gets him there. And this university and its fans are hoping the exact same thing.
We've come to the part of the show when we look at the top players in the nation. Let's move on to the second team All-Americans. Welcome to the 2K Sports Studios. I'm Greg Gumbel, along with my partner Clark Kellogg. Coming up on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll unveil our choices for the top 10 mid-major teams in the NCAA, as well as tell you where the top recruit in the nation is headed. But first, let's take a look at the best games of the past week in college basketball. We have a real surprise to show you. Not too many folks expected the result that came from this one. USC overpowered Michigan.
This came right out of the blue, Greg. What a wild and crazy game. Michigan was sitting pretty as a top 5 team, but you've got to have some doubts about them after a loss like this. Padilla was the hero of this one with a terrific performance. His 20 points led the team. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous.
And next up, let's look back on another great contest from the past week. West Virginia got by Florida.
Well, Greg, this game wasn't decided until that final buzzer sounded. A couple of different bounces one way or the other, and this could have been a totally different outcome. West Virginia played some absolutely stifling defense. They made the guys on the other side work for every basket, and you can see that reflected in the shooting percentage. They never let up on the defensive end. That really took the pressure off the offense and allowed them to dictate the tempo of the game. To me, that was the biggest factor.
Now let's unveil our list of the top 10 mid-major teams in college hoops. These teams could probably hold their own in any of the power conferences if they had the chance.
Top to bottom, they're certainly not as strong as a list of the top 10 major conference teams, but one or two of them have just as much talent as any of those teams, especially the team in the top spot.
Marist is a team that I'm not sure should even be included on this list because the schedule they've played could have put them in the toughest conference in the country. When you're a mid-major team, yet play that kind of schedule and still have a decent record, that says an awful lot. There's news off the court as well as on at this time of the year as the top high school players in the country are signing their letters of intent. The signing of one player made an especially big splash. Miami is already celebrating, and all this for a player that is yet to set foot on the university's grounds.
Sydney probably has the talent to go straight to the pros, but I'm really happy he chose to go to college, and I know everyone on that campus is thrilled as well.
Well, they should be. There's talk that he has the talent to take a place alongside the legendary point guards in college hoops history. There's no doubt he was the best point guard in the nation.